today, and I had to deal with it. This idea that everyone gets a fucking trophy, like, that's not the way the world works. That's not how it is. People are better than you at things. People are better looking at than you. People are more gifted than you. Deal with it. Find your place and stop blaming everyone else for your fucking issues. And the intent, that's the thing. Like a comedian, like you can take a joke one way, but if the comedian was telling the joke and you take out their intent, that's the end of the joke. Because you murder someone, you go on trial for homicide, your sentence is determined by your intent. What were you thinking? And yet you'll take a joke and only see it one way, not the way the comedian intended, or you won't even listen to the whole joke. You'll hear a fucking word and you'll go, oh my God, that word is, like, seriously, cut the shit.
I agree with you. Listen, people are offended every day or every week by me. I get it. People are probably offended by something that came out of my mouth or your mouth today in the past 10 minutes that we've been
Right. Just
talking.
go into
It's
the
like,
basement to put the recycling down there. I'm sure I insulted someone.
and to your point, yes, I also grew up bullied and life was not fun, but here I am with a smile on my face. Like, right, like I'm sorry if it's offensive and the intent is not there. Like, that's a far cry from like a Kanye West, right? Like we've really lumped everything in together these days.
Right. It's yeah, that's true. Like everything is equally as oppressive. And it's not true. And then you look at these comedians, right? And why do they pick on comedians? Because we're powerless. You have these, orange fuckface. I can't stand him. He lied. He lied and lied and lied. And it's free speech. People who are in, you know, political power, who legislate our lives, essentially, say the most egregious things that incite violence. And yet you're picking on a fucking comic? Comics get killed in other countries. They get killed in other countries. Um, and it's also, and it's so funny that we get shut down so often. Um, and yet these people continue on and on. um you know it's it's been going on for a while, this whole cancel culture, and oh my God, it's really upsetting. Um and I think about, you know Donald Trump, for example, because he's a perfect example of free speech. He would not attend the White House Correspondents' Dinner, which is this tradition where everyone gets picked on and mocked out, and it's I had a roast for my 60th birthday. Like, I could not have been happier having 5, 6, 7 comedians make trash fun of me. Like, it was the greatest feeling. And, like, look, if you and I were ever referenced on Saturday Night Live, we'd be like, oh my God, that was, even if it was just the most ridiculous mockery of us, it'd be like, oh my God, that is so exciting. And so here we have someone, and a lot of leaders that are sort of fascisty, Hitler, Putin, like, you can't make fun of them. They can't handle it. They have no self-awareness. So he wouldn't go to the White House Correspondents' Dinner, and then he wanted SNL investigated by the DOJ for picking on him. There's a really interesting story in my book about the Smothers Brothers. Do you remember the Smothers Brothers? You're
Yeah.
young.
Is
Very.
that this righteous feeling? You've lost that love? No, that's not them.
Oh my
You've
God,
lost
that's
that
the
love.
Righteous Brothers. The
Oh,
Smothers
sorry.
Brothers. Oh my
I,
God.
I was close. I mean, I was close, right?
No, it's just the fucking brothers. Anyway, so the Smothers Brothers had this show in the late 60s. It was a variety show, and it was very politically charged. They would really deal with a lot of political issues. And they were really pouncing on President Johnson, who was the president at the time. And his daughters loved the show. And they were essentially fired because they had Pete Seeger on and they broke all these stupid rules. Um, that and Johnson had called the head of CBS and was like, "Can you ask them to kind of lay off a little? I mean, like it's just." And they're like, "All right, we'll try." And they said, we'll lay off a little bit if we can have Pete Seeger on. And they didn't know Pete Seeger was this, radical folk singer. And then they got fired. But what happened after they got fired and were canceled off the air? Johnson wrote them a letter saying, "Listen, it wasn't always fun for me, but this is America and this is part of my job. And I have to say, this is what I love about our country. I wish you all the luck in the world." Um, whatever. It was like a very positive,
Yeah.
acknowledging. Yeah. Can you imagine anyone in Congress or anyone writing like, "Thank you, I know this was hurtful, but it's part of being a public figure, and I get it, and good luck to you." No.
We've gone really far. Like
Right.
what do you think of like a Kanye? Like that's another example, right? Like
Oh, Kanye is, well, first of all, he's mentally ill. um I have a feeling, David Yontif, I've always thought this, I've always thought that the white supremacists, the people who are afraid of losing their power and becoming invisible, um, there's nothing that makes them happier than having the Jews and the blacks fight against each other, because we together, forget it. We can conquer the world. And if you go back, and it's like, it's so uneducated. If Kanye goes, these are all um tropes that have been around forever. Do your due diligence. Who were the founders of the NAACP? Jews. Who marched with Martin Luther King? Jews. Who got killed? In the marches down in Mississippi? Two Jews. We have been fighting for social justice forever. And a lot of the reason we're in these certain industries is because we were not allowed in other industries. We were shut out of them. So banking, or, the things that we were allowed to engage in and excel at, people think, we're all wealthy. I can tell you, not true. I have one bathroom. And I mean, I'm happy I have a bathroom, but with two fucking large, gigantic sons. But Kanye is dangerous because he has, we have this, it's all social media. Like, he has so many followers, and they're not doing their due diligence. They're not. So when he says something, they're like, "Yeah." And, I think about some of the shit he said, and it's like, yeah, there's a lot of Jews in Hollywood. We started Hollywood because we had no other fucking inroads to certain industries. We were banned from that. But then I go, I go to I go to the diner, and they're owned by Greek people. I go to, you go, when we come here as others, we find sort of industries, and we bring our brethren. Oh, I hate that word because I said it before, and someone's like, "That's very masculine, white supremacist." But we bring our people along with us, and also the Holocaust. It wasn't that long ago. It was 12 years before I was born. I can't even, like, I thought it was like forever ago. And I
yeah.
realized, I grew up around people with numbers on their arms and Eastern European accents. And um this is not funny. This is destructive. Um and why? It's they hate us. My mother was, "They all hate us. Everyone hates us, Judith." And I used to be like, "Okay, right." But it is so true. Whenever there's like issues and problems like we're having in this country. There was a pandemic, and we get blamed for everything. We are 2% of the population in the United States. We are 2/10 of 1% of the population of the world. It's
That's scary.
fucking mind-boggling, right?
Yeah.